So can I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I move that we accept minutes.
Okay, have a second?
Second.
All right, is there need for discussion? Hearing no need for discussion, all in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, good. Thank you. Treasurer's report.
Yes. Calling it up. We have we've gotten some deposits in, so there's a little bit more money in the donation account. Donation account ending balance is $2,225.01.
2,225.
Yep,
Thank you.
and a penny. Don't forget the penny.
Okay. All right, I won't forget the penny.
The budget has 1,061.47 remaining. And there's another National Grid bill coming out of that too.
Yeah, is that the $11
So,
one?
Of $10.63 will end up at 1,000. No,
Okay,
this is a new one that I just picked up yesterday.
okay.
And let's see, the grant money has a balance remaining of $3,365.34, but that does not include any of the Tractor Supply stuff because I didn't have the totals for those.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over that in a little bit this evening.
Yep.
I'll give a rundown of
Yep.
where I think we stand at the moment.
And, and we did get all of the reconciliations from the town accountant. Everything is reconciled through the end of December at this point, so we're in good shape there.
Good, good. Welcome aboard, Deborah. Can you hear me?
I think she's muted.
You can't hear you. No,
Still muted.
There we go.
There you go.
now we can hear you, I guess.
I hope so.
Yes,
can hear
loud and clear.
Okay, good.
I said welcome. All right, we just approved the minutes and Laura is giving us the treasurer's report. Was there more to it, Laura?
I was pretty much done with the treasurer's report unless
Okay,
you had something else.
Deborah, she just mentioned that in the grant, we have $3,365.34. The donation account is $2,225.01. And the FY account has $1,061.47. And there's a $10.63 electric bill that we have to pay in the coming days. So you've heard the treasurer's report. Can I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented?
I move we accept treasurer's report.
All right, have a second.
Second.
Motion made and second. Need for further discussion? Hearing no need for further discussion. All in favor?
All right.
All right, very good. Thank you. Incoming correspondence.
So the only thing that was in the mailbox as of yesterday, I didn't get down there today because I wasn't going out in this stuff. If I didn't have to,
Right.
was I think it was 3 right to farm disclosure statements. And the National Grid bill. The total of the bill is $21.83. And the current charges are $10.63. So the other part of that is the $11.20 that we already processed last month.
Yeah, that's been submitted to the town accountant and presumably it's been paid by now.
So that's it for correspondence.
Okay, any emails? Any
Yes.
emails? Okay,
Yes, of course. So on January 20th, we got a note from the town basically related to right of first refusal for 169 Lyman Road. And then there was a follow-up email. I don't remember the date on that, but a couple days later from the assessor's office that saying that land had been out of Chapter 61B since 2016. So she didn't believe they needed to do the first right of refusal posting. So I don't know if that's going to come up later or not, but.
so my reading on that was they once had the land in 61A or B, whatever it was.
Yeah, I think it was B.
And at some point, they decided to take it out. And after they took it out, they lived there for 5 more years, paid the full tax assessment after it was out.
Okay,
So therefore, they don't have to go through the first right of refusal with the town. They
The
just
town.
go forward and sell it because they've already more or less paid the back taxes over the last 5 years. So that was my read on that. So I don't think we'll hear any more on that, but we'll keep our eye open, and if so.
Yeah, and
we'll-
I think that one I had forwarded to everybody on the commission because,
I received it. I don't know, I can't remember from whom, but I did receive it.
well, I was playing around with setting up a group email for the entire commission so that I could just forward things to everybody from the town
Okay.
actual website. So I kind of used that as a test message. So,
All right.
okay, so January 22nd from MDAR was a request for response for the buy local program for fiscal year 21, round 2. The deadline is February 12th. If anybody hasn't already seen that, I can forward it to you if you have interest. January 28th, MDAR. Title of the email is USDA temporarily suspends debt collections, foreclosures, and other activities on farm loans for several thousand distressed borrowers due to coronavirus. And I didn't really get into the article, but I think the title says it. So February 1st, also from MDAR, 3 request for responses for one for specialty crop, one for FSMIP, and the third for mosquito control task force study. The deadline on those is April 9th. February 3rd from MDAR, the MDPB seeks proposals for a dairy farmer workshop, deadline being March 5th. On February 5th, they sent the Mass Grown Exchange. It was a job posting and it had something to do with produce, fish, and honey job posting. February 5th again, the 8th Biennial Harvest New England Agricultural Marketing Conference, I guess to be held on February 24th and 25th. And also alongside of that is a Farmers Market Managers Seminar to be held on February 22nd, 23rd. Then the last 2 came through today. The first one from the selectmen, and it was basically a request to, I think it was pretty inclusive. I don't remember the exact distribution list on it, but I think it was all town departments to review and give feedback on, it looked like their annual report, but it didn't actually say that, and it wasn't titled that, so I'm not positive. But it looks like what you would find in the annual report. So
I got a copy of our annual report for my review and approval. And basically, what they did is they reformatted it into columns versus paragraphs like I had submitted it. And apparently that's going to be the new look in the town report. So it was more or less a courtesy for us just to look at it and tell them, yeah, that the report is as submitted and the format looks great. So I responded to that today.
okay, that makes sense because I started reading through it because it was of moderate interest. But then I realized it was 32 pages long. So I stopped.
And that was a town report. So
Okay, so that
I've
was
taken care of that. And it was just a formality to say, yeah, that's what we submitted as our town report.
perfect. I didn't get down to the point where they were talking about the AgCom. So
And the new format looks great.
okay, great.
Okay.
So then the other thing that came through this afternoon was also from the Mass Department of Agricultural Resources, had to do with the COVID-19 vaccine program. It was a fact sheet and outreach materials, which looked pretty straightforward. I don't know if anybody needs it, let me know. That was
Okay.
it.
Anybody have any questions or requests for Laura to forward anything to you? All right, very good. Thank you, Laura. We'll move on to old business. So the first item on the old business is the purchase of raised beds. So the intent the last time we met was to go out and buy 6 of the livestock water tanks from Tractor Supply, the 8-foot long ones by, I think they're about 2 feet high and 3 feet wide. And we were assured by the store manager they were all in stock. And when Laura and Mike, excuse me, Deborah and Michael and I got there, they didn't have 6 in stock. So in any event, we bought 3 of them from the Westboro facility, which are currently stored in Michael's box truck. And then I went to Leominster and I bought 2 more. So that brings us up to 5, and they're stored out in my backyard here. So with that, let me go over the finances on the grant where I think we stand. So with respect to the raised beds, I have submitted an invoice for reimbursement to the town accountant in the amount of $739.47. That's for the 3 tanks that we bought in Westboro. I have another request for reimbursement, the amount of $492.98 for the other 2 tanks. I haven't submitted that yet, only because I need at least 4 signatures on the documentation I have to submit. And I only have 3 so far, and I've been just too busy to run around and nail one of you other folks for your signature, but I'll be getting to you shortly on that one. So I will be submitting that invoice shortly. So that leaves us with 1 more tank. The plan is, in the next week or so, I'm gonna call both Westboro, Tractor Supply, and Leominster to see if they have any more in stock, to get 1 more to bring it up to 6. If not, we understand that Millbury has a few of them over there, and I may have to run over there and pick one of them up at that time. So not knowing if we're gonna get the 15% discount on this last one, like we did on the prior 5 of them, I put it in the calculation at the retail price of $289.99. So if you add those 3 figures together, the 3 tanks, the 2 tanks, and the one we yet have to purchase, that'll be $1,522.47 for the 6 raised beds. So that being the case, and I see my number is off by about 10 cents. I had a grant balance based on our January meeting of $3,365.44. And Laura reported this evening $3,365.34. So the numbers are going to be off by a few pennies, but this is just for budget purposes anyways. So if I take that balance and I subtract from it that which we've spent already on the 5 tanks and the 1 more yet to go of $1,522.47, that leaves us with a balance rounded at $1,842. 840, let's call it $843, $1,843. So I have been looking into the fencing and gate situation as well as Deborah has, and the numbers are all over the place. I'm estimating that we're going to end up spending somewhere between $1,200 and $1,400, depending on the size rolls we buy. Deborah has given me some information as to, she believes we need 520 feet to close the garden, and she believes we need at least 65 fence posts to put the fence up. And we've been talking about 4 gates. So we have various options. We can buy a very large roll, 300 and some odd feet, which would be bulky, or we can buy smaller rolls, which are a little bit more expensive, but easier to handle. So Deborah and I have to have a chat as to which way we want to go and exactly what we want to buy and when we want to do it. But in the meantime, what I would like to ask is that you authorize me to proceed with this purchase on a not to exceed of $1,400. I think that number's a little fat by probably $150 to $200, but I think we need a little slush there to see how this is all gonna work out. So I'd like to propose that we go ahead and buy these items. We've been talking about this plastic deer fencing, just so you recall. It has a tensile strength of anywhere, depending on which grade you buy, 500 pounds to 700 pounds. So it's fairly rugged stuff. And I think the life expectancy is about 10 years. So that's the information I have gathered so far. Deborah, did you want to say anything about these items that we're contemplating purchasing, but kind of haven't quite finalized yet?
No, just, I think we go with the higher estimate just because of I don't know if everybody knows about the size of the garden this year, that in anticipation of it being as big as it's going to be, we needed more than we originally thought.
Right. And we haven't really finalized anything on the gates. The gate prices are running anywhere between around $70 to about $100. So that's another detail that Deborah and I have to work out. So I'd like to make a motion that you authorize me to go forward with Deborah to look into purchasing these items and not to exceed $1,400. Can I have a second?
I move that we move a motion that we advise you to go get the material.
Okay, the motion's been made. Can we have a second?
Second,
Second.
All right. Motion's been made and second. Either need for further discussion? There ain't no need for further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Very good. Thank you. All right, so that pretty much covers that. Where are we on the agenda here? Let's see. Okay, so the next item is just, again, just so you're aware, last month's electric bill was $11.20, which was submitted for payment to the town accountant on the 1st of February. Next item under, oh, wait a minute. I'm jumping ahead of myself. I got to back up, pardon me, I got to back up on the agenda to, under old business. The next item would be the additional security requirements at the community garden. I think I would still like to put that on hold because money is getting pretty tight and we have a potential new item that we got to talk about in a few minutes. So at the moment, I'd like to just pass over that item. And if we go forward with anything like that, it'll probably be the last thing we purchase, depending on what monies are left in the grant. The next item in the old business, the John Root presentation. Deborah and I have been in communication on that subject and with John, and that is rescheduled for the fall of this year. And if we can't do it in person at that time at 19 Carter, then we would have to consider a Zoom presentation perhaps. Then he is agreeable to that. So that's on the back burner right now, just till we see where we end up with this COVID-19 situation by the time we get into the fall timeframe. All right, now back to new business. I mentioned earlier that I had submitted my invoice request for $739.47 for the 3 raised beds, and still have to submit one for the other 2 raised beds for $492.98. Now I'll get to the National Grid invoice. Next item, that was submitted for $11.20 for payment. Next item under new business, the sale of the solar pump system. Been in communication by email with the town administrator on that subject. Can't recall if I forwarded those to you or not, but in any event, our cemetery commission in town has agreed to take over what's left of the system, which consists of the solar panel, the control panel, and the pump and the flotation switch. So they're going to take that over. And as a result of those emails, I contacted the lady in Harvard, Mary Keefe, who wanted to purchase the system from us. And needless to say, she was disappointed to hear that we're going to be using it in town. So as far as I'm concerned, that is a closed issue at the moment. The only new subject that it brings up, and I pointed this out to our town administrator, that at the time when the solar panel is removed from the garden shed roof by the highway department, by the way, they're gonna do that. There'll be need for them to make a temporary patch on the roof because the thing is bolted to the roof. And after that's been done, I think we ought to consider putting a new roof on the garden shed. Unfortunately, Buddy's not with us here tonight, but my recollection is that he thought that could be done for somewhere in the neighborhood of $500. And if that's the case, I think we can squeeze that out of the grant money. So that's why I was mentioning earlier about postponing the security camera type of thing until we see where we are with the finances here. So what I did was, let me just look at some numbers here again. So I went over the grant money earlier with you regarding the purchase of the raised beds and the 1,400 you've authorized for the fencing material and gates. And that would leave us with a balance, I believe, in the grant of somewhere around $443 or thereabouts. And I mentioned that I think there's some slush in the 1,400, but we'll wait to see how that works out when we actually make the purchase. So I think we're very close to having the money available to put a new roof on, assuming Buddy can do it for the number I think we were discussing in the neighborhood of $500 within the grant money, as I see it at the moment. We had talked about spending some of the grant money for soil to fill the new raised beds, as well as some additional compost to put in there. You may recall that Buddy at last meeting agreed to provide the soil as a donation, which is great. And so if that happens, and if we have to put the new roof on, we probably can't buy any compost with the grant money. I see it at the moment. However, that being said, I also looked at our FY 21 account. And I want to make sure I'm on Laura's good side here. Make sure I get the right numbers here. Hold on a second. All right, she reflected an FY 21 balance of $1,061.47. I'm going to be a little off because I used, I think, January's number, and I showed $1,081.47. So there's a little difference there, but not significant. So from that, we have to look at $150, which is in our budget for the spring tilling. I'm estimating that between this general time frame and the end of the fiscal year, the new fiscal year is going to start on 1 July, we'll have to probably pay electric light bills in the neighborhood of $90. So I took that into consideration. Deborah and I were talking about the potential need, if we're going to take one of these new raised beds, put it in the handicap parking area, we'll need to bring some water over to that side of the building. So we're going to probably need a hose. We're going to need a hose hanger with a faucet on it. And we're probably gonna need a water divider on the main faucet so that we can bring the water around to the other side of the shed. So I put in there $100 for that stuff. So that would leave us rather, with a balance of $741.47. So we could, at Buddy's price of $30 a yard for compost, we could get 20 yards and spend another $600 on compost, which I believe should be more than enough for the main garden, plus the raised beds, because you only need an inch or two on the raised beds at the top. And that would leave us with a little kitty in the FY budget of around $142. So that's my thinking on that. So if anybody got any concerns or questions?
I have a question about that.
I'm not putting it in a motion or anything. Yes.
So I'm just looking at our budget detail.
Yeah.
Where we had 10 cubic yards of compost in there for $300.
Right.
You're saying you want 20 instead of 10, or you want 30 in total?
A total of 20 yards at $30 a yard, $600 worth.
Okay, so, okay, so yes, and then we also have the $500 in the budget for the portable toilet, which
Right.
I think we're getting. So there is
No.
definitely some wiggle.
No, we're not. When
I just wanted to make sure you weren't adding 20 yards. You're adding
No.
10 yards to what we did before.
I made the presumption that we will not be purchasing or renting, I should say, the portable toilet.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Deborah, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I hope you can't hear. I don't know what my husband's doing. There's some weird noise going on out there.
Okay,
Yes, I am agreeable to that. I'd say.
right. So that's where I got the bulk of the funds left in our budget, because when we put the budget together, we were still uncertain as to whether we were going to have the portable toilet or not. So we put $500 in there. And in the final analysis, we decided not to go forward with it last May. That we would have carried over into May and June of this year. So that $500 is sitting there, and that's where the bulk of the additional compost money is coming from.
Mhm.
Okay. Anybody
Thank you.
else? What's that?
I'm just laughing and thinking about the toilet and the compost. That's all.
Okay.
Make our own.
They're almost similar. but not
Yes.
quite. All right, so that's the general plan, folks, okay? And so that's what we're gonna be monitoring, to stay within our means and to try to maximize everything we can out of the grant. And when we're all said and done, if there's a few dollars left in the grant, we can go back and revisit the security camera thing. And even if we want to go forward with that, and if we're short a few bucks out of the grant, maybe we can go forward with it anyways by taking a few bucks out of our donation account, which is growing quite nicely.
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, good. Somebody else gets to talk. Community garden status report. Deborah,
20 pages.
20 pages. Okay.
Just kidding. Received 23 applications so far.
Wow.
17 of them are from town residents. Right now, 3 from the apartments and 6 from the out-of-town gardeners that I've put on a wait list. So what we have right now will totally fill the garden as it was last year and not going into the next space. So I anticipate we'll move into the next space because we always get the rush at the beginning of applications, and now they'll kind of come in every, week or so. I'll get another one. And I still haven't heard from 2 of my regular gardeners. So I want to email them and just say, are you coming? So I see us moving into the next row.
Excellent.
we have two people who are pretty disabled. So Carl was talking earlier about putting one of the raised beds near the handicap parking spaces. I'm thinking we may need to put two of them up there.
Yeah.
And I mean, that should be fine anyway. And then the rest where the others are. The new gardener, Daryl, should I talk about her?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Excuse me for interrupting you. Just a little background. A couple of weeks ago, I got a call from a lady in this general area. She lives on Mile Hill Road in Boylston. And she wanted to know if she could set up a relatively large garden. I think she was talking something like initially about 100 by 100 out in my field that runs along Wall Hill Road. So I wasn't too keen on that. And Elaine reminded me, you know, as you get older, this thing gets a little slower. She reminded me that I ought to mention the community garden. So I did that, and I sicked her on to Deborah. You got the floor, ma'am.
Okay. So as soon as she hung up from Carl, she called me, and she's very enthusiastic. She used to do a garden in Vermont. She did produce for farmers markets, and she is desperate to farm. And we have a very large section that Buddy cultivated out in the back in anticipation of increasing the garden. So I think we're going to be able to accommodate her with a pretty large space. And she donates the produce to, she'll donate to the farmer's market. I mean, not to the farmer's market, sorry, the food pantry. And I'm sure we can find, there'll be other places that will happily take the donations, as long as she doesn't set a little welcome mat out for the people who come to visit.
Yeah.
But she, I don't know, she's very excited about it. And I think it'll be a great addition to the garden, and she seems very knowledgeable, and I think she'll be an asset. So
And
that
she
will
seems-
take
sorry.
up the whole space.
She seems to be willing to work at the garden as well as a volunteer.
Mhm.
And when she mentioned to that, I said, if you mention that to Deborah, she'll latch right on you. So please do.
Yeah.
So hopefully, you know, she'll have a nice garden and be an asset to help out down there as well.
I hope so.
Did you guys say 100 by 100 space?
Well, that's what she asked for. And then when I was talking to her about the community garden, and I told her how the plots were set up and the costs associated with it and everything, she said, well, you know, 60 by 60 would do too. So I left it at that, and I don't know what the final outcome was. I said, please talk to Deborah and
Okay.
decide on whatever you want to decide on. So
Yeah, I'll box it out once I lay everything out and put her in the back in one of the corners and figure it out. And she'll get a decent space. As soon as the snow melts, I will go actually measure.
in June,
I was hoping to get there, and then all of a sudden it started dumping. But I wanted to see how big that space was that Buddy carved out in the back, so I had a better idea of what to be able to give her. But that'll happen soon enough.
Sure.
So the other things I've been up to is I'm working on getting all the sign-off sheets from everybody since we changed the rules, and I keep a file of that just for legal stuff, the sign-off that they've received, the rules and all the liability stuff. We received a new donation, a separate donation from Barbara Crackhart in support of the garden. She's not asking for a plot. She just donated money. I haven't cashed that check through yet. And
Are you
So
going to
she
hold
sent a
us
new
in,
one?
are you going to hold us in suspense, or are you going to tell us how much?
oh, it was $25.
Okay, all right, thank
It's a
you.
nice donation.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah. So I will get that one in. I have a couple more, but I know you've received the two that I've, the two sets of checks, right? That's gone through to you, Laura? You've seen that?
Yeah, and Barbara did have a check on that. So this is another one.
Oh, no, maybe then I sent hers. I thought that I hadn't yet. Okay, no, I have, okay, so hers went in the last one then. I have 3 more checks that I just got. I thought I hadn't turned hers in yet.
Let me just double check.
I can look.
Yeah, $25.
Okay, all right, so hers did go in, so we
It was
cashed that.
deposited on the 4th.
Okay, so I have, since then I've gotten 3 more, so I'll do those. I'll wait another week or so before I send them in. But I am holding all of the out-of-town gardeners checks. And anybody new from out of town, I'm telling them, just don't give me a check until I know that will have a space.
Mm.
We did get a huge donation from one of the out-of-town gardeners of $250. So I'm holding on to that right now. And like I said, as soon as I know that they all have a space, I'll cash those, put them in to be cashed. And thank you, James, for getting everything on the website. I checked it all out today. It's perfect. James uploaded the new rules and the application, and it's available in 2 different ways. If someone goes online to find the paperwork to apply and also the rules.
Very good.
So we're all good. I think I've covered it all.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions, comments, observations? All right, very good. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, James. And we'll move on here. So the town administrator issued a draft state clean energy and climate plan for 2030. I don't know if any of you looked at it. It's a very boring document and very lengthy document. I went through it. Bobby?
53 pages.
Yes, right. It was lengthy. And I sent out this afternoon a proposed comment on it. I'm not going to fall on my sword on this, okay? It's just, I thought, maybe we ought to bring this to their attention. Don't know how you feel about it. I appreciate your feedback on it. If you make any changes, we don't have to go forward with this or whatever you want to do. So I'd like to hear from you what you think. Anybody? You all see it? You all get to see it? Okay.
Yeah.
Kevin, you got any thoughts? You usually like to comment on these type of things.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine.
All right. Anybody else? Michael, you have any, did you get to look at
I
it?
think you were talking about heat pumps, and I think generally speaking in this area, heat pumps for greenhouses aren't really, they aren't really possible, just
Right.
because of the huge heat demand that greenhouses take in the evening. It's just not possible up here.
Yeah, that's the point I try to make, and and they seem to think that heat pumps, my impression when I read the document, they seem to think that heat pumps are going to solve all of the heating problems that exist, okay?
No,
And there was very little, barely any mention of agricultural requirements. And that's what prompted me to put these words to the paper, primarily just to bring this to their attention. They simply mentioned, oh, agriculture in Massachusetts isn't that big of a deal as compared to California. Well, California heat pumps probably might work a lot better there than they would in Massachusetts. I don't think they would even work well there, but in any event, it just seems like something that wasn't addressed at all. And I think the point about people looking for and demanding more local food, this pandemic we're in isn't going to go away overnight. My personal feeling is we probably got 2 more years of this at least before we're back to something called normal. So I think, there's going to be more and more demand for local food, produce and stuff like that. And it's an industry that's going to be expanding. Certainly one of the areas that has expanded in the way of greenhouses in this state is the cannabis production. That's going crazy with the number of greenhouses they're putting up with for that stuff. So in any event, if you think this is worthy to submit, I'll do it. If you don't want to submit it, that's fine with me. There's no hard feelings. I just thought I would throw something out there. When we get stuff like that, sometimes they're a real pain to respond to, but I like to, leave them with the impression that, we are responsive to this type of things and these type of things.
Well, I agree with Michael. I agree with Michael that the heat pump is not going to work.
Right. That's, I think I made that point.
Can I make a comment? Because
Sure thing.
my house is heated with a heat pump.
Okay,
And so they do work here, but we had to do so much insulation before we could even think about doing it. Had to really upgrade insulation. And I agree, there's no way you're gonna do that in a greenhouse.
yeah, one of, Dave Smith, our highway superintendent, several months back, had nothing to do with this report or anything like that. And I don't even remember why we were having this conversation, but we were having a casual conversation about heating systems and everything. And apparently the new town barn is heated with heat pumps. And he says that thing runs constantly just to try to keep the heat up. I don't know if you all have been in that building, but it's cavernous, some areas of it. And he said that thing is running constantly. And I can't imagine what the electric light bill is for the town to run a system like that on a consistent basis. So in any event, yeah, I felt, I don't think the technology is there even for a lot of applications. So if you don't have any other concerns or comments, I'll go forward and submit this if you think it's okay.
That was a nice catch.
Yeah, okay. All right, very fine. Thank you. I'll get that in. I think it's due tomorrow, so we'll get that to them tomorrow. All I can say is, well, we'll throw that in the trash can, but that's all right.
Yeah.
At least we made an attempt. Community garden potholes. So I think the majority of this problem came about as a result of the area, the parking lot being used as a staging area when whatever their name was, the gas company, had to put the new line in to the River Bridge apartment complex. And there was some attempt to repair it after they left, but it has gotten worse. And it's particularly bad right where the handicap parking lot is, or space, I should say. So that's not a good thing. So in any event, I brought this to Dave Smith's attention, and he's agreed to take care of it in the springtime. So that'll be taken care of. The last subject, raised beds from the highway department. Again, I don't know if recall if I sent this out, but when Dave got word that we were looking to buy some raised beds, he offered to donate some lumber. He has his own portable sawmill, and he does a lot of native pine boards and stuff like that. So he has agreed to donate some wood and assemble some raised beds for us. Deborah and I have discussed this, and I think what he has in mind is probably a typical 8 or 10 inch height bed, probably 4 by 8 in dimension, and possibly using 2-inch pine boards. I personally built some raised beds like that many, many years ago, and they lasted several years, even though it was native pine. I probably got 7 or 8 or more years out of them before they completely deteriorated. So they did stand up reasonably well. I told Deborah I would have an additional conversation with David on this subject to see what he had a particular design in mind. Deborah thought it would be more appropriate if we could get him to build them in the 20 to 30 inch height range. So I took it up to have this conversation with David, which I haven't done yet. I didn't think it was appropriate to bother him with this subject when he's been fighting snowstorms every 2 or 3 days. these guys work, as you know, extremely long hours when we have these winter conditions. So I will have that conversation with him. See what he has in mind. I think Deborah and I have an agreement that if he can't fabricate something in the 20 to 30 inch height, we would ask him to build one in the 8 or 10 inch height, probably 4x8. And, you know, that in itself would make an ideal raised bed down at the garden. If somebody wants to grow a lot of herbs, for example, you can get a lot of herbs in a bed of that size. So that would make a nice garden for that type of thing, or maybe some root crops or things of that nature. So in any event, I have the action item to get back with Dave Smith on that and have a further discussion. And I think however that discussion ends up, we'll probably take him up on his offer to get us at least one raised bed. Anybody any questions on that? So that's the plan there. That completes the agenda. Anybody got any comments, observations, complaints, recommendations, what have you? All right, folks, make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I move we adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, I knew you'd say that.